down the path of copying out of a situation and not being able to use constructive criticism and critical thinking in order to address the real elephant in the room. The fact that disinformation has a thing with Black people, has a thing with the people in general. So when being faced with a problem that they've never thought of before, they don't know what to do. But when they're faced with a problem that's reoccurring, they have every regurgitated answer in the book. And I don't want to do an echo chamber in here. There are plenty of rooms that talk about Black guilt and Black problems and Black issues. None of these rooms talk about Black solutions and Black alternatives and Black derivatives. And those are the things that we want to talk about in here.
Yeah, what is I got a question. I'm sorry. Well, I was going to
Hold on, Randy. Wait. We got Emmanuel right here. He just came in. Hi, Emmanuel. I don't want to be rude. I want to give you a chance to say what you want to say or ask your question, and then we're going to come back to you, Randy, and then we're going to go to Kalanji again.
Hey, how y'all doing? So, yeah, this is a great room.
Hey, Emmanuel.
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, so yeah, I love this room because, like you were saying, like there's other rooms that they don't talk about the solutions or anything else about what's happening in the Black community or in every other community, you know, because a lot of people don't talk about it. So it's like, with me, it's I kind of look at the things where I had to unlearn everything and then go back into the history and the knowledge of what was going on because I see the BS in everything, like even at the Capitol. I saw the BS in that. And so the one thing I really want to point out is that there was a movie that a lot of people don't talk about. It's called The Greatest Story Never Told. And it's about Hitler. And it goes on the upbringing of what he went through until when he became leader of Germany.
Emmanuel, I know this is controversial, but I don't want to say it because I might be wrong, but I have a newfound respect for Hitler after I really delved into like the history of him, and when I really went into like what he did for German people, like how he rode for he put the vegetarian diet.
Yeah.
He made them value being healthy in the 19th. In that time, in that era, to tell people like they only ate like basically raw foods. Like it's not like they didn't go to eat meat, like they never ate meat, but they ate it in moderation. Most of their diet was a vegetarian diet, which was crazy. But go ahead, Emmanuel. I'm sorry.
But yeah, cause I got a buddy of mine. He's Hispanic and white. You know, he told me about this, and I'm like, okay. I think I'm calling BS on that because even when you talk about white supremacy, right? If you type in anything about white people on Google and you look at the author is Jewish. And a lot of people don't realize is that the Bolsheviks is Antifa today. It's like
this is literally the Bolshevik Revolution. There's no question about that.
Yeah, and so even when people talk about white people, like I know a lot of white people. My wife grew up in a white city, and she's fine. All the white people loved her. I'm just trying to figure out like where's this thing with white people?
Wait, hold on, Emmanuel. So on the panel I was on yesterday, the chubby, overweight white girl who was talking about her Black boyfriend and how she was so in touch with Black issues told the beautiful blonde woman, because she was cute. I could tell you already know like when bitches be hating, So she was kind of hating on her because like she was just fine, she was from Australia, and she was like, yeah. Like, you need to read White Fragility. I said, don't read that fucking book. Are you crazy, woman? Don't read that book. You're going to throw up inside your mouth. I don't believe in critical race theory. I don't believe in telling white people, your ancestors were horrible and you're inherently racist because you're racist and this is a racist system and I'm oppressed. Listen, Karen, I don't bother you. Your life doesn't affect me. You don't affect my pockets. You don't affect my family. If I really, really want something, I can go out here and get it because that's what a free market is. A free market is having selling CDs out of the back of your car for 3 weeks straight. And then after 2 months, you can get yourself a little kiosk at the mall. And then after a year, you get your little storefront. And then after 2 years, you might have 2 different storefronts in different locations. That's what capitalism is. I love that. I like that. That's why I'm here. I don't want to go anywhere else. So if you want to go somewhere else, that's fine. but I'm not affected by how any other race, not even just white people, think about me. I don't perpetuate stereotypes, so I'm good. I'm okay.
Yeah, and that's why I love this. You know what I'm saying? I've been listening to you for like the past few days, and it's like you've been hitting everything on point. So that's why I kind of like this room.
Oh, thank you, Emmanuel. You're a frequent flyer. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Randy.
Yeah, Bree, that's one thing I do like about you too. I like that we have in our Black communities open discourse, whether we agree or not. But it's just that sometimes, like, I want to say that I'm a free thinker, but at the same time, I can't ignore certain things. So, like, I got redlined. I almost got redlined last year when I was buying my third house. So, like, it was at my imagination when it happened, because I stuck up for myself. But, you know what I mean? Because redlining still happens today. It's just, they got a facelift, meaning it's not as obvious when they put a sign up at this new construction of
I just feel like I don't want to go anywhere where I'm not wanted. If you don't want me there, then I don't want to be there, and I'll just go find somewhere else to go, and I'll just figure it out another way. I just feel like, you know, sometimes we get caught up in why people do things. Sometimes people just do things because they're fucking assholes. Sometimes people just do things because they're miserable in their own lives. It doesn't always have to lead back to this infringed system that has been oppressed upon us by white America. It doesn't always have to be that. Like, what everybody said about Barack Obama, despite, you know, the things that he did or didn't do, when I hear black people say, oh, he gave me hope, he inspired me, he made me think that I could be somebody as a black man, he made me think that I could be this, and he made me think that I could be that, when in all reality, there are a lot of black men who are pioneers before him, centuries, ages before him, that, you know, set the precedent for what he was able to do, actually becoming the president, you know? And I don't want to get caught up on things that may or may not be holding me back, these invisible things that may not be invisible because, you know, systemically, you know, there are impoverished and disenfranchised black people in America, but there are also impoverished, disenfranchised white people in America, impoverished, disenfranchised Spanish people in America. Every culture, every country, every part of this earth has an oppressed, disenfranchised community. That's the hierarchy of the system of life. There's always an oppressed community in every country. There's always an upper echelon of the community in every country. There's always some sort of elitism, some sort of classism. I can't get hung up on the semantics of that. If I spend the country, there's always some sort of that, like we've been doing. Our human rights are being taken away. We can be bamboozled into thinking that there's this crazy pandemic to where we can't go outside and we can't, you know, interact with people. We'll allow the government to take our liberties away as Americans. We'll allow the government to perpetuate civil war and incite violence amongst us and use identity politics to fuel intersectionalism amongst the black community to make us even more divided. I don't have the brain power to worry about feelings. Facts don't care about feelings.
Well, that's
period.
Redlining, when we talk about black community generational wealth, I would always try to teach people about redlining, but maybe you're right. Maybe it is a waste of my time. I just leave it alone.
It is. Like, let it go, Randy. Let it go. Let it go. Black people are saying, let it go. Black people are saying, let it go.
It's like, to be honest, I made it out the hood. You know, it really is survival of the fittest. Like, I'm a big X-Men fan. And one of the greatest villains of the X-Men is Apocalypse. And I try not to go there, but I feel like maybe that's what, like, it's like the X-Men. When Apocalypse comes and he says that mutants are superior, but if you are weak and you can't make it out or you can't win a battle, then you're to be done. So maybe you're right. Maybe there is to that there's, just like in white people communities, they have their weak, poor, and a black and brown.
Every single community in every single country has it, right, Randy?
But, you know, the fact that God blessed me and that I made it. I don't know if I made it, but I made it. And, I mean, I've always tried to pull people behind me, but maybe you're right. Like because even though redlining still happens today, I was real quick with it just because my family dealt with real estate. But if you can't make it out, I mean, and it's just like the Latinos, because I'll be honest, when Plainfield, New Jersey, Google Plainfield, New Jersey, it used to be predominantly black. And then it turned Latin. And they came, they didn't even speak the language. You go now, there's no black-owned businesses, it's nothing but Latinos, and maybe that's the survivors of the fittest. Maybe those group of black folks just couldn't survive, but the other communities of blacks that have survived too. So look at Atlanta, for example. So I mean, yeah, maybe they're just weak. That's it.
It's not even that they're weak, but just some people just can't cut it. Like, everybody can't go. Noah didn't take a bunch of people on the ark with him. All he took was the animals. You know, he saved the animals so to preserve, the animal life, and society could go on. Whatever. Everybody can't go. It's not everybody's plan. This is not everybody's ideology. I'm a fan of Marcus Aurelius. I don't know if anybody knows who that is, but I like his book Meditations. You should get it, Randy. Stoicism, not really dwelling on the things that you can't change. If there's something systemic that I can't change that is allegedly oppressing me, my best bet is to ignore it and just move around and pretend it's not there. Because if I give it any life, then it's going to have power over me. A white person has never treated me one time I went to a restaurant and they thought I was using a fake ID. That was it. But that's just because black don't crack unless you smoke it. That's not my problem that I look good, that I look like a TV bopper. You have to get over it. Your skin is cracking. It's not my fault. That's the only problem that I've ever had. I've never been, there's an ambulance. I've never been followed around a store. I've never went into a high-end store, Bergdorf Goodman or Saks, and felt like the person was following me because I always have fucking money. I'm not going to go into a store that I can't afford to shop in. I'm not saying, how much is that? Oh, that's too much. If I pick it up, I want it, I'm buying it. I never went to a restaurant where I felt disenfranchised because I was black or treated differently. I know how to order my food. I know how to speak to the waiter. I know how to ask, hello, what's your name? Okay, hey, Jen. I don't say hey and snap my finger. I make sure I call them by their first name, and I make sure I leave a very nice tip because, as you know, black people are known to leave very bad tips. We're known to be bad tippers. So I don't buy into that stereotype either. There are a lot of different things that, do legitimize stereotypes, and that's in every race. You can see similarities in things like stereotypes that we have or prejudices that we have with every different race. Black people were very jokey, like Richard Pryor, Paul Mooney, Eddie Griffin. Those are our comedians. Bernie Mac. Those are our favorite comedians. Red Fox. They're controversial. They tell it how it is. I don't think that black people have been this sensitive in history. Cancel culture, social media, all of those things, tribalism, intersectionalism, modern liberalism, those are the things that have fucked black people up. We're confused. Dare I say, we're acting like, fragile white people. Everything is bothering us. We're bothered by everything. Everything's hurting our feelings. We've never been this sensitive. You can say something, Emmanuel, or Vladimir.
Yeah, no, I think all right, so the situation where Randy's coming from, I get it. And I feel like he has somewhat of a point, but in the same sense, I also understand what Bree's saying as well. But back to the point, it's to these stations, to these news stations, and to these outlets, they kind of just project a certain type of image or a certain type of perception. Is how we see things and it triggers people. And I feel like that's where Randy's coming from. As far as when black people see all the killings, and how the news will replay the death of George Floyd over and over and over and over again.
But don't show you what happened before the knee on the neck.
Right. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like those things, even that whole scenario is kind of dark. You know what I'm saying? But the fact that, that's the only part that, we see, it just plays into the narrative of, just a controlled
victimhood.
Right. You know what I'm saying? It kind of goes back to where it's we want to feel this type of way and we want to march. And I don't knock nobody who marches. Me personally, I don't march because like I was saying, the former Secretary of State said, march so long as they pay their taxes. So ultimately, marching is not going to get people nowhere. It's about a change that has to happen through the structure of the communities. You know what I'm saying? We have to knock on our doors and be like, hey, what's going on? My name's Greg. You know what I'm saying? I do landscaping. If you need me, please contact me. If you know me, like, we have to start building amongst each other in order to create new opportunities for people, so we can get out of this that systematic mentality and get out of the mindsets that we have. Like, but don't get me wrong, because I also I can attest to what Randy's saying, being that I had, like I told you, the policing and how it's done in different communities. Like from the different area codes where you may live, is just done differently.
Correct. Like I said, in Parks Slope, where my godmother lives, there's no police over there. I can literally like smoke weed, like walking in the street. I can like do whatever I want. I can like drink some wine, sit in front of the house. But like in my neighborhood or in the neighborhood where my parents live, you see police patrols constantly where the projects are. But that's because it's a proximity kind of thing. Crime is in the area. Like, they're not there for no reason. There's no crime in my godmother's area. So then that's when we went back to the issue of black on black crime. But hold on, Vladimir, 1 second. Hi, Andrea. Do you have anything you want to say about the topic or anything that you heard anybody say so far? Welcome to the stage.
Oh, thank you for the welcome. I appreciate you seeing me. As you know, I just joined, but it's a couple of thoughts that popped through my mind as I listened. In reference to people being so sensitive and things like that, that things happen. So, of course, we've been slaughtered since we've been here. So it's not new information, but I think that as we evolved over the years, people feel like, I think back in the days and Richard Pryor time, stuff like that, like we wanted change, but we really felt the whole joke was that it'll never come. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like you laugh to keep from crying. And I think now, today, in 2021 and 2020, I think it has shifted. Like, we can really get this. And I think that's where the sensitivity came in. Like, we don't have, like, the thought that this could actually happen. Because after...
What could happen, Andrea?
Equality. People being held accountable for their actions.
That's what you thought was happening, Andrea? Nah, you funny girl. I'm listening. No, I'm listening. That's very optimistic. I'm hearing the optimism. That's good, though. I appreciate that.
I mean,
a lot of black people don't have that optimism when it comes to these types of things.
And this is why I'm saying that. And I'm actually 50 years old, so I've been around. So I'm just saying is that when things would happen, like in the 60s, stuff like that, I'm talking about when you made reference to like, the comedians, what they used to say and stuff like. We were hopeful, but it was like you had.
No, I said the reason why we black people, resonate was because we're very raw people, we're very honest people, even in jest when it comes to like your mama jokes. Louis Farrakhan did this in the speech too. I think he talked about it, like shooting the dozens. That's what they used to call back in the day. Your mama this, like, that's just a way that we talk. We're not easily jostled when it comes to jokes that are prejudice based or bigotry oriented. Like, we don't usually get offended by those things.
Well, let me say, and this is from my point of view. I'm born and raised in New York, okay? And so, there's a lot, it's a different way of looking at it. Sometimes you have to laugh to keep from crying, because otherwise, if you really get into your feelings, you might actually be hurt sometimes. You know what I mean?
I can see how you feel like that.
To cope with different things. It's just like even when, in slavery, there was a lot of songs and dances. You had to find a way to cope.
So what do you think? What do you think are some of the things that personally you have had to cope with, and you found yourself laughing to prevent yourself from crying in the past year?
Well, no, I'm saying that's what we did back in the days. I said now, as far as people protesting and people being sensitive, they're like, we can actually do this now. We have more people voting. We have more people. I'm saying is that the reaction is different now because I think people feel like we are so close. If we can just band together, like we already had since Martin Luther King's time, he passed away. We haven't felt like empowered that this can actually change. That's what I'm saying. What's different now is that people think, we're not going to take it. This ain't funny no more.
When did you come into the room, Andrea? Were you here just like in the past 20 minutes, or were you here for like an hour or two? How long were you here?
Probably for the past 5 minutes.
Okay, dang. So you missed the whole conversation where we broke down in the system and the pedophilia and the Democrats.
I was not there for that.
Black people are the wet ass every time the wet ass in the dry pocket. Every time we lead them damn Democrats, they keep promising us stuff, Andrea, and they don't give us shit. Every time we go over there for the late night booty call with the Democrats, we gotta pay for our own Uber home. It's horrible. We gotta pay for our own cab, Andrea, from Washington Heights all the way to East New York, Brooklyn. That's a long ride. That's like a $60 cab, and we have to pay it by ourselves every time. So the concept of this room is, are Black people blinded by racism? The fact that we focus so much on racism and white supremacy that we have missed the ball. Right now, you're
okay. Well, I agree with that. It's about, because even back in the days, Martin Luther King, it's about when you get closer to getting some money, some power, that's when they start acting more crazy than they
right.
were.
So, as far as like the riots and the protests, the quarantine and all that stuff, basically what happened at the Capitol the other day, that had nothing to do with Trump. It had nothing to do with, Black people. It had nothing to do with us. It was also about, liberties and things like that. So there were a lot of rooms where people arguing over racial issues instead of focusing on the fact that in New York City, a 14-year-old, as of the summertime, can change their gender on their ID without their parents' permission.
Mm-hmm.
In New York City, they passed a bill the other day. The New York Senate passed a bill that says that we can be quarantined at the behest of the government just for being suspected of having come in contact with somebody with COVID. So this is like, Nazi shit. Like, what the fuck do you mean you can just, quarantine me? Like, if you feel like it, I'm like, and my family too, and anybody that's come back in contact with me or them. Remember, also in New York City, Cuomo took away religious exemptions to stop you from taking vaccines. So all of the other nefarious things that the government is doing, as far as, just putting a higher precedent on identity politics, the California thing.
When it's I get it.
Right, the California law that they passed over the summertime with the children that alleviated male-to-male pedophilia, and the Republicans and the conservatives were protesting that. So those are the things that we think that we should be focused on. Censorship, the fact that they can censor the president, haha, that's funny, everybody needs Donald Trump. But the fact that they can censor somebody with the title of the president, whether you like him or not, that should be scary. The fact that they can ban information, the fact that they can ban actual information that is valid and label it, wrong because a fact checker who we don't know, who isn't verified anywhere. I posted a post on Instagram, Andrea, let me just give you some context here, a couple of weeks ago. And it said water, when you drink water at a certain time in the morning, it gives you energy. If you drink water at a certain time, it gets your organs moving and allows your digestion to flow better. I got fact checked, and the fact check said scientists have not proven that drinking water at a certain time of day has any benefits. This is the extent that censorship is going. You understand? So those are the things that we're focusing on. Wow. Not so much the racism thing, because everybody talks about that. You can go into 17 million echo chambers in here if you want to talk about the same shit all the time. You don't have to be here to listen to my tangents. You don't. Like you don't have to listen to it. But I do want Black people to be able to have access to the other avenues of information and the other pieces of information that they're not getting from mainstream media and from the censored and shadow banned media. So if that gives you some clarity, Andrea.
Yeah, that gives me some context. And just to let you know, I'm born and raised in New York. I've been in another state. I live in Maryland. I've been living down here for 20 years. So I was not, some of the things that you said that was going on in New York, I actually wasn't aware of.
Oh, okay. So it's getting crazy now.
Well, crazier. Like, interesting.
But
Yo, y'all still on here?
Facts. Hi, Amelia. Do you want to say something in regards to the question, or do you want to give a comment on something that I said? Sorry, my son is following me in every room I go in. Can you restate the question? Because I came in the room after the question was stated. It's just, are Black people blinded by racism? There's so many things going on beyond racism. Like, we really have bigger fish to fry. So the media and just the left has romanticized racism so much in the past couple of years, especially during the Trump regime, that we allowed all of these other things to happen to us, all of these other rights and liberties to be taken away, while we were focused on racism, and white supremacy. So the question is, are Black people blinded by racism? Wake up. And we were just talking about all of the other nefarious things that are going on in the government and in the country that mainstream media isn't talking about, especially that have to do with children and parental rights and just, censorship and all of those things. So what do you think about any of those things I just said, Amelia? I think it's both and, right? Like, I don't think we live in a society where it's black and white, it's one or the other. Like, I'm one who does a lot of work around social justice, around racism. I'm in education, so I come from that perspective. And on top of that, I also agree that that can't be, like, the only point that we look at, because it can be utilized as a point of distraction. Right? And that's kind of what has happened. It was utilized the whole 2020 as a point of distraction, not to negate anything that happened or anybody's death. Nobody deserves to die in that manner. But specifically, Black children, Tanisha, she said it was the year of child murder last summer. That's how many children, Black children, were murdered by gunfire. And even with that, like I said, I'm not disagreeing with that. And I also think it's still an and, because, like, our intersectionalities make us who we are. So being Black still makes me a part of who I am. Being a woman, being cisgender, all those things still make me who I am. And I do agree, like, there have been a lot of murders of Black children. I heard someone... Yeah, so Amelia, hold on. I don't know if you just came to my room, if you never met me before, but girl, these are the rules. No cisgender, just man and female, just regular person. No misogyny, no toxic masculinity, no liberal jargon, no liberal talking points, no nothing about the patriarchy, or nothing about, we don't really like identity politics, because those are all the things that people talk about everywhere else, and those are all the things that make us confused. So if you can contrive your point to not using those words, I would greatly appreciate it, Amelia. I like your hat.
Use real words.
When you say real words, what do you mean?
You don't use 4-syllable words that are very idealistic, that is currently being taught in classrooms that have no actual meaning.
Yes.
Well, a lot of the stuff that we use really doesn't have meaning. Like,
there's like some stuff that doesn't have meaning, and there's some stuff that really, really doesn't have meaning, and that's the stuff that really, really just doesn't mean anything.
So can you solidify with me? I'm a person that
Yeah.
I'm not gonna change who I am, but when I'm in spaces,
But you are.
Can I finish what I'm saying? Because, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm a person that when I do enter a space, right? Like, I am asking questions not to be funny. I'm asking because I want clarity on exactly what I mean. It's just, so I was just asking. No, not you, Amelia. I'm not offended or anything. I get you, Aaron. Aaron just woke up, okay? He was here last night in the room, so it's just more so for, I think that it's like, you're going hunting for a deer, and then, you're looking at the deer, and then a squirrel runs, and then you look at the squirrel, and then the chipmunk hops up a tree, and then you look at that too. We want to just keep the conversation very basic and very literal and factual. If we can take the neoliberal euphemisms out of the conversation, it can give regular people who don't subscribe to those narratives a chance to enter the conversation and understand without being just befuddled with pretentious conversation, when we can just simply talk as Black people, like talk Black girl, like talk Black like you at the cookout, let's go. Oh, I mean, I'm gonna do that regardless, but like it's hard. It's very difficult. The way in which you want me to like censor my conversation, I can't. No. I don't want you to censor your conversation, but I understand that what you're telling me now is you're so deeply indoctrinated in those words, in those euphemisms, that you can't articulate yourself without using them. And I don't believe that, Amelia. I think you're a smart woman, you're a beautiful Black woman, and you can articulate yourself without using those white-ass words. So let's go, girl. I definitely, but like I said, it's just in spaces. I have to show up in spaces in a way that people understand. And that's my thing. Like, I'm a gap bridger. Like, I'm listening to conversations here. I'll carry the knowledge or the things that I feel like resonate with me into another conversation. That's what it's about. But, so if I'm going back to the question. Jump in here and I'm not. No, Andrea, you cannot jump in. Let Amelia finish. Wait. Let Amelia finish her point, girl. Let her finish her point. Everybody can defend themselves. We're all adults. Nobody's attacking Amelia. I just am tired of echo chambers. And like I said, people on the panels with me and my like-minded counterparts, we do not subscribe to the liberal narrative. So I don't even want to hear it in here. And if you want to do your own room, Amelia, and talk about it, I don't mind that. You maybe could ping me in there sometimes. I might come in, give my little input if you would have me. But just in my rooms, personally, I don't like echo chambers of white liberalism. We don't do that in here. I'm learning, right, what you were subscribing to that, because I'm the type of person that I don't do boxes. So what I'm bringing is my thought process, whether it's been because of my lived experience, whether it's been because of, most of it's lived experience. So even when you use the term, like what was the term you just gave, Spring? The white liberal. Like even when you say that, I have no knowledge of what that is, because I don't really deal in media and things like that. So what I am saying, if it does have I wouldn't know what the hell box it goes in, because I don't. The box that we shouldn't be in as Black people, the box that has broken apart the Western nuclear family, the Black nuclear family, the box that has promoted Amber Rose's slut walk. That box, we don't like that box. Yeah, I got you. So to go back to the question, so are Black people blinded by racism? I would say yes, and I think that one, we know that it exists, right? Like it's a construct. It's been there. It's something that was put in place to keep us in line, right? I think there's a new level of consciousness that Black people are coming to about ourselves and who we are, and so now we are in a thing where we want to subscribe to the things that are true to us. Correct. But it's difficult to get to that place because we don't have the knowledge. We don't have the understanding. And places and platforms like this allow us to do what Black people do, which is oral tradition, conversation, having, thought process and going back and forth to come to some kind of resolve. So, Amelia, I have a question for you, because I proposed this question to a couple of people that came up on the stage before. Other than racism in America, what are 4 things, just you can give like one word answers for each thing, that you think plague Black people? What are 4 issues that you think that we should be worried about other than racism? Financial illiteracy, our education and educational system. Okay. Definitely mental health. Okay. Probably I should have said that number 1. One more. Let's see. Spirituality. That's another one. Okay. I would put spirituality under mental health too. I would put that under one umbrella, because when you have that peace within yourself, you're able to have that mental clarity that most people don't get, because they have all these like demons inside. So when we were talking earlier, we were talking about this Black girl named Sequoia Turner. Aaron was in the room with someone, and they were like making fun of the Proud Boys and the Trump supporters, and essentially just trying to, make fun of Aaron. And he said, at least, Trump supporters, or, they went and stormed the Capitol. They're not storming the Nike store and shooting little black girls in the head. The whole room turned into like an echo chamber of oohs and ahs. No, how dare you say that? But Aaron was correct. During a Black Lives Matter protest at the Wendy's, where the gentleman had the altercation with the police and he was shot when he tried to, run away or shoot the gun or whatever he was doing, right across the street, a little black girl on July 4th was shot in the head by protesters, black protesters, while she was in the car with her mother on the 4th of July. So there are I'm not going to say a million, but there are over 15 different stories like that happened this past summer of little black kids getting shot in the head, children.
Why does it make black people more violent, though? Like, why are they?
Because it's almost like putting, I don't want to use this analogy, but just excuse me, guys. It's almost like putting animals in a cage. You put animals in a cage and you stick them on each other, and you deprive them of recreation. You deprive them of human to human contact. You deprive them of just all of their civility, and you put them in a concentrated area and you just watch them go at each other. Everybody has high anxiety. Everybody is in a bad mood. Everybody is confused. Everyone is depressed. So those situations promote, they promote violence, especially in impoverished communities. So when they had the bubonic plague, all of the serfs died first. Anytime there was a plague or anytime there was some type of, disaster in a culture, the serfs or the peasants always suffered the most. They suffered first. That's a systemic thing, not only with black people who are oppressed, but just all people who are oppressed all over the world. So those are not the things that we should focus on. We should focusing on those things and highlighting those things so that they don't happen. Somebody said something that was very important earlier. The young man, he was like, if people knew that if they shot a little girl in the head, they wouldn't be able to come back to the community, less people would be inclined.
Good morning.
We're not banding together as black people and taking accountability for our neighborhoods. We're leaving it up to Democratic constituents, councilmen, mayors, governors, all of those people that we're putting in office, that we thought our votes mattered, we thought our votes actually did something, and continuously these people are failing us. All of the states that we named earlier, all of the cities that we named earlier that had the highest violence and murders this whole year were all Democratic run cities. And people wondered why Donald Trump said that he didn't want to give the stimulus to Democratic run cities, because they were allowing our cities to be burned to the ground and overrun. It was like the Wild Wild West in New York for summer. It was crazy out here. It was fucking crazy.
So what do we do? Because even if you look at Detroit, because I live in New Jersey, Newark, Detroit. So what do we do with these black folks? Do we ship them off?
You can't. First of all, Randy. Okay, listen, Randy, the fucking communist. You cannot ship everybody off, Randy the communist. That is fascism. That is fascism. No, Randy. Hold on, Randy. What we're doing now is enough right now. Having this dialogue with people who otherwise wouldn't hear these things, people who don't know that Joe Biden is against charter schools, which is something that's very beneficial for black children in New York, especially somebody who doesn't know that Joe Biden isn't going to defund the police, and he balked on the Black Caucus a couple of weeks ago, like, shut the fuck up, stop fucking telling them I want to defund the police, you fucking idiots. I don't want to do that. He didn't say it like that, but he basically said it like that. Like, when you guys listen to the fucking footage of him talking to the Black Caucus like they were some house niggas, it is the craziest shit. That's the real Joe Biden right there. Like, when you go back and look at Joe Biden stuttering and you see the onsets of dementia, the things that the media was hiding, you start to put things in perspective. as to the Black people's plight in America. Not only do we have to, situate ourselves and get ourselves together and work on our parental strategies and our, they used to say it takes a village to raise a child. We don't have that mentality anymore. Mm-hmm. Not only do we have to tackle our own problems, but we have to worry about systems of oppression that are oppressing all Americans, everybody, white, Black, Mexican, Chinese, Arab, whatever. Everybody here in America, we're all being subjected to tyranny, medical tyranny with the vaccine. They last year they perfected this little chip that they put inside a needle, and it can be inserted through a vaccine. They did that last year. I posted that on my Instagram. Nobody was paying attention to it. In February, I said, hey, we're going to have martial law here. We're going to go into lockdown. They're going to start rationing food. Everybody be prepared. Nobody listen. Then you go to Target and they tell you can only buy 2 rolls of toilet tissue. You can only buy 1 pack of chicken. When can I only buy 1 pack of chicken? Actually, I'm going to the butcher shop. I don't have time for this. This is fucking ridiculous. So all of these things and patterns and trends are in, the laws that are being passed and the bills that are being passed. And we're not seeing the trends in the language, us changing the way that we word things, like what I was trying to do to Amelia just now. But even more crazy than that, like woman is not spelled WOMAN, it's spelled WOMXN. And that's to include trans women, because if you spell it the way that we learned it our whole lives and the way that it is in the Webster's Dictionary, that's offensive to trans women. I was in a room when I first got onto Clubhouse. That's what taught me, kind of like, that this was an echo chamber. The Black British woman said, okay, stop. What we're not going to do is we're not going to pretend that women are only people with wombs. Wait, what? What the fuck are you saying? Oh, I'm in the wrong room. I gotta go. Like, when I go into a room and I start to hear those things, I just leave. I don't even try to argue with people. I don't even try to debate with them. I just go create spaces for people who don't believe in toxic masculinity and who don't believe that the Black man is a predator and who don't believe that, white people have to bow down and put up Black squares. First of all, let me tell you something. If you are a white person, you are racist. I want to know you are racist. I want to know this is a racist restaurant. I don't want to go in there and get food poisoning. I'm okay. I don't want you to give me a spit burger. I'm good. And most people don't want to know those things, but I want to know those things. So I don't want to force white people to do anything for me that they don't genuinely want to do. The white woman was like, oh, I was giving out waters. I'm in California. She was like one of those weird kind of like gothic girls or whatever. So you could tell that she was like an outcast for most of her life. But, she was helping with the Black Lives Matter. And then she came on Clubhouse and she was hearing all of these rooms where Black people were saying white people need to stay out of it and mind their business. And like she just heard these echo chambers of Black anger with white people. And she genuinely was sad. Like, I felt bad for the little Pippi Longstocking, Like, she was like, oh, what do I do? Like, I thought I was doing the right thing. I genuinely want to help because she's being pulled in different directions. She's getting mixed signals. Some Black people are saying do this. Some Black people are saying do that. Some people are saying do that. Nobody is on the same accord when it comes to what the problem is and how to tackle it. And I think that's more so the issue. And that's where the disinformation comes in. So until we can tackle the disinformation and the funneling of fake news versus actual news, because in all reality, Black Lives Matter decimated the Capitol in Antifa. They burned it. It was burning. It was on fire for days. It was on fucking fire for days.
It wasn't Latinos matter. It wasn't White Lives Matter. It wasn't. You feel what I'm saying? So that's what I'm trying to say. So I won't say the Black.
Oh, Sean left.
I grew up predominantly Black every day. But let's go to Puerto Rico. So
no, let's not go back to Puerto Rico. Hold on, Randy. 1 second. We have Quinn here. Who just came. I don't want to be rude to her and just keep having this conversation and not acknowledge the fact that she's there because she may have to go in a second. Hey, Quinn, did you want to say something in regards to the topic or something that we've been talking about?
Good morning. I just woke up. I came out here last night listening, and honestly, bro, I just came to big you up because I see you and I.
Big up yourself, Quinn. Yeah.
It's a big up because you have the same mindset as I do, and a lot of times I feel shy or like intimidated by the masses to say what I feel, and a lot of times I just what I do is I put
Twin, let me tell you something. I'm from Brooklyn. I could really fight in real life. I don't play all of them internet games like these other people be playing. You know, like how the millennials have like the Twitter fingers and they like to talk shit to people. Like I'm 33. I know I look like a little girl, but I'm 33. I wasn't raised in that era, so I'm used to saying what the fuck I want because I live in America. And if you don't like it, go live somewhere else.
No, I love it. Like, honestly, though, because just your perspective is so refreshing. The whole thing about the whole echo chambers and all that bullshit. Like, honestly, I'm so annoyed. Like, I be in my DMs with a lot of people. We stay clowning niggas. Because like, yo, none of this shit makes sense. You all sound like parrots. None of y'all know what the fuck you're talking about. You have no solutions. Like, I'm over it. So I just...
None of you know the nefariousness of the American government and the things that they're really doing. And you're too hung up on intersectionalism and tribalism and racism to focus on your rights being taken away and children being hypersexualized and the person's good point. Go into your Twitter right now and type in hashtag minor attracted persons. Oh, I know. When you look at that shit, tell me if racism is really the biggest problem in America.
It's totally not. Like, I'm in Canada and I just watch and observe. We have similar histories, but at different time frames. You know what I'm saying? And when I look at stuff, I'm just looking at things objectively, and I don't like the propaganda and the division that they're putting you guys through, and the fact that they want you guys to just identify your history with slavery. You guys are so much bigger than that, and I think if folks got to really know historically, they'll understand that there's bigger things, there's bigger fish to fry than some of the bullshit that y'all being fed over there, man.
No, they're purposely trying to distract us. Hey, Miranda, and hey, Ebony. I want to give you guys the opportunity to say something if you want to respond to the fact that Black America has been sworn allegiance to racism. That's all we talk about. That's all we can think about. That's all we can focus on. We're not focused on our rights. We're not focused on an unconstitutional quarantine. We're not focused on a pandemic. We're not focused on our children's liberties being given to the government and taken away from parents. We're not focused on the fact that New York City has allowed 14-year-olds to change their gender on their ID without their parents' permission as of the summertime. So, Miranda, do you have anything to say about that? Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Really, I was just listening, and I'm so encouraged by this conversation. Vladimir invited me to speak. I don't really need to be a speaker, but at least
Miranda, no, Miranda, you have to say something, Miranda.
I'm gonna say something. Don't worry about me. I'm just really encouraged. Really, I'm almost brought to tears about some of the things you're saying. My biggest passion in life is really children, fighting for children and against child exploitation. And so some of the things you're saying is just it's even hard for me to comment without feeling tears pressing on, because it's so big, and I feel sometimes
that's real, Miranda. I wish when Black people hear that, they get as emotional as you do, because they don't. They go back to racism and white supremacy, and they don't hear that I said that little fucking boys are on Twitter and they have videos of them naked, and then they make people pay for them, and Twitter is allowing that, but they can ban Donald Trump, who is the president of the United States, which should be considered treason no matter how much you hate him. So, when we talk about the children in America specifically, with social media, they are very susceptible to predators. There's a show they have To Catch a Predator. The guy who sets the predators up, and they think that they're talking to little girls, and they go into the house and they bring the beer and the condoms, and then the guy comes out with the camera and catches them. Like, that's really a real show. Little girls that I know, children, I know.
They didn't get off, though. On that show, most of them who do that, they don't get prosecuted because they
entrapped them.
Yeah, so the entrapment helps them, get free.
But the fact is that they're on the show, so people get to see that, which is the win within itself. So that's good. That's still good, Kalachi. Like, I'm just happy, that they get exposed. But the point is, like, there's a lot of missing children in America. There's a lot of organ transplant stuff going on, especially in Chicago. where there are a lot of murders. There's a high concentration of murders. Planned Parenthood, I don't know if you know this, Miranda, but Planned Parenthood in America, most of the abortion clinics that they have are predominantly in urban neighborhoods.
Yeah.
And what they do is they sell those black babies, the aborted babies, to science. But the loophole is, everybody says, oh, they can't do that. That's illegal. True, it is illegal to sell babies' body parts to scientists, but it is not illegal to give them away freely and charge for shipping and handling. So that's how they've been getting away with it for all of these years. And we proposed the question earlier, like if women knew that they would get money for these things, that's kind of like an insidious way to think about it. But they would want their money. Like, okay, you're getting paid. Like, I want my money. Like, how are you profiting off of people's lives, the lives of people's even though they're aborted children, and you're not compensating these people for that? Why are you able to do that and not tell anybody about it? Why is the vaccine able to have the aborted fetal cells of children inside of it? And I guess people were reaching out to the Vatican in reference to that, if it was morally wrong. And the Vatican, motherfucking Vatican, you can't trust anybody nowadays. They basically alleviated all moral restraints on that, and told, they did an open letter, you can look it up, where they said that it wasn't morally wrong because it's a pandemic right now, and basically God will forgive you.
I saw that.
You saw that too, Miranda?
Yeah, I saw that, and I'm not surprised, but obviously disgusted. But yeah, I saw that.
So to the panel in the room, because something just came to thought when you brought up the Vatican, is this like Rome? Is this imperialistic nation just collapsing in itself? Because a lot of people are pointing to those indicators. Because everything you're describing, plus a whole host of other stuff, just like the system is unsustainable and it's just collapsing.
That might be happening too, Randy, but hold on one second. Ebony, hey girl, do you have anything you want to say about the topic, or anything you want to say about what we just said? I don't want to just ignore you down here.
Hi, happy Saturday. Thank you for putting this group on. This is the first time that I'm joining, and I really liked what you had.
Hey girl, welcome. She's from Brooklyn. No, I act like that all the time, but hey, what's up?
I really like the conversation that you're bringing up, and I was just taking a few notes because I came on around 15-20 minutes ago.
Okay.
I really stress the importance personally of mental and physical health, finance, and learning things that are about skills that you need to survive without having to rely on another person, and nutrition, because I'm the type of person that...
Do you watch Naked and Afraid, Ebony?
No, I've never watched it. But
you gotta watch Naked and Afraid. You love it.
Okay, I have to write that down. You said Naked and Afraid?
Yeah, it's like a survival show where they put two people, a man and a woman, in the middle of nowhere in different countries, and they have to survive naked and build shelter and like forage for food and make tools and hunt and all types of shit. It's dope. It's a dope show. And there's another one called Alone in the Arctic. That one is on Netflix as well.
Alone in the
Arctic, yeah.
Okay. I personally miss the days where debates and how to debate were taught in schools, and I know that everyone didn't have access to have their because I'll just do like a brief background. Like, my parents are way older than me, so my mom is 70 and my dad is 70, and my mom made it a point to always teach me about how it would be treated in society. So to, at one hand, know who I was, and to dig deeper into my family history and what my personal culture is, and then to also be informed about how people are going to view me and how people are going to treat me.
Awesome.
And I get sad sometimes because I have friends where their parents did not warn them about how they were going to be seen in the black skin.
And they also didn't prepare them better.
So that
they wouldn't be seen a certain way.
So then it becomes this narrative of like, why do people see me this way, instead of, okay, this is
I need to change that
strategy that I'm going to implement because I have a certain obstacle that is unique to me personally. So I tell people all the time, it doesn't matter whether people like you, as long as they respect you and those boundaries are set up there. So I had a friend from high school on Facebook share an article back in early April of 2020, and the title was Black and Hispanic Population Make Up Majority of New York City's Coronavirus Steps. And I clicked on the article and I reached out to the reporter because
first of all, it wasn't even us, it was the Jewish people.
I'm gonna say, like, I reached out to him to inquire for more information because Hispanic is not a race. So I had included, like, when you go on the census for quick facts, and I'm the type of person, like, I'll find the link and then I'll, like, quote.
No, Ebony, you're the type of person that is going to embarrass somebody with facts. I like it. Go ahead.
So I had clicked the link to the Census Quick Facts, and there's information that says, like, the U.S. Census Bureau adheres to the U.S. Office of Management and Budget on definition of ethnicity. So there are two minimum categories for ethnicity. So it's Hispanic or Latino and not Hispanic or Latino. So the OMB considers race and Hispanic origin to be two separate and distinct concepts. So Hispanics and Latinos may be of any race. So I included, like, the CIE's World Fact Book as well. And then in the ethnic group section, it says a separate listing for Hispanics is not included because the U.S. Census Bureau considers Hispanic to mean persons of Spanish, Hispanic, Latino origin.
Wait. So I take it that the writer wasn't very happy about this dissertation that you decided to present.
He didn't respond to me, but I always think it's important for people to do their own research and to know the definitions of things. So when you hear this terminology, knowing that when you're saying Black and Hispanic populations, Hispanic is not an actual group of people. So you can be a Black Hispanic, you can be a white Hispanic, and I gave the example of Giselle Bundchen, who I think is actually from Brazil. She represents Brazil, but that is a white person.
No, Ebony, I have to be your friend because, like, you got on that person's nerves. Like, you made them so mad. Like, I could just picture them, like, reading this and, like, clicking the link and, like, you know, like, thinking about it and just not responding. Like, fuck this bitch. Who does she think she is? And, like, you know, writing another bad article right after that.
Yeah, I also put, like, I didn't like that the information that was shared, let me see, because I'm trying to read, like, part of the email. I was saying, like, in conclusion, I'm concerned the article is misinforming the public of the number of fatalities based on race. The data provided only has 63% reporting at the time of New York City, which makes it difficult to form a fair assessment of the woes facing each individual group. That was in New York City because they had the population numbers for New York State, but didn't provide it for New York City. So I thought it was irresponsible.
Correct.
Because if you have percentages, I want to know, like, percentages, and I want to know the exact numbers, and I don't want the racial groups to be inflated because you're using blanket terms.
And that's kind of the point of the room, Ebony. The fact that a lot of African American people, especially, are low information voters. They don't really understand the concept of the things that are going on. So if you don't have both sides of the spectrum, how can you make an unbiased, intelligible decision if you don't have all the pieces to the puzzle? You need to be able to decipher, you know, the puzzle. You need all of the pieces. And a lot of the times, especially, you know, in the past 4 years, you know, more so in the past 4 years than ever, you know, in history, we have been victims of, you know, censorship and shadow banning. And unbeknownst to us, there are all of these things happening beyond the spectrum of what people call white supremacy. And nobody has any idea because it's not on Twitter or, you know, it's not being shared instantly. So how do you feel about what we were talking about in reference? Okay, so they're trying to say, because we did the self-identification thing with transgender people, being trans was, people are born that way, that's how they feel, so they don't have to go through any drastic or any chemical castrations or anything like that. They can just, be as they are and say that's what they are, and you just have to believe them and all of that, even if they don't look like that to you. So then they created the minor attracted persons kind of spiel, where they're saying that people who are pedosexuals are born that way, and it's a sexual preference. It's not a sexual preference, it's an identity, it's a gender identity. So they're adding them to the LGBTQ spectrum. The LGBTQ community, like I like to think, because I'm a part of that community too, I would like to think that that's something that's very worrisome to everyone. But no one really focuses on that because they don't know that it's happening. So they're using the trans movement and the LGBTQ plus movement as a catalyst for pedophilia. And people don't know that. People really genuinely don't know that. So how do you feel about that, Ebony?
Yeah, so I was aware of that, and while you were talking, I was looking for my old draft emails, because when I talk to, I realize I can talk to specific friends about this and share article links and have okay, this is the timestamp of when I was aware that this started, this is what's happening.
Ebony, at what point, what situation made you realize that you could only talk to certain friends about these issues? Did you have an argument with one of your friends because you were giving out too much information?
No, it wasn't an argument per se. I unfortunately had personal examples of this happening. So I originally am from East New York, Brooklyn, and my mom was a single mom, and she used to take me to, I don't know if you know,
I live on Ashburn and Dumont.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah, I bought a house over here about 4 years ago. I'm originally from Crown Heights. I'm from St. Mark's and Ocean, but I moved to East New York 4 years ago. So
yeah, I know what you're talking about. On home ownership.
Thank you.
So I used to go to Canarsie Piers with my mother, and there used to be white men that would sit in the parking lot and would watch us and would approach my mom and say oh, I want to get your number, I'm romantically interested in you. And growing up is realizing that predatory behavior, East New York was one of the bigger targets, because you have the perfect type of storm of poverty, the lack of education, and then sexual exploits of Black girls and Black women historically in this country. So it was legal for you to rape a Black woman. There was no repercussions because you were seen as property. You were seen as an animal during enslaved times. And talking to certain people, okay, pedophilia is... I learned about this in college, actually, because there was a professor that showed us a website. I don't remember what it is, but I can look it up and take the information. But they were lobbying to have the right to have relationships with children.
Yeah, they have a whole movement. I forgot the name of the movement, but it's a whole group. It's billions of people in the group overseas in the Netherlands. They were just protesting a couple of weeks ago. Netherlands is the highest producer of child pornography. And the lady was like, what is wrong with my country? Why are we like this? They were protesting for the kids. This was a couple of weeks ago because a lot of the child pornography is produced in the Netherlands. So this is something that has been creeping up for a while, but it's been kind of on hyperdrive in the past couple of years since Trump had got elected, because intersectionality and identity politics is something that people can use as a catalyst, and it draws people together even though it's drawing people apart. So I think that specifically, when it comes to laws, we are very naive, as Americans, as Black people, as people who we just say we want to mind our business sometimes, and we don't really pay attention to the writing on the wall until it's too late. So I just, I like to curate spaces like this on here. I've actually been on here for what the heck? Yeah. Oh, Susan, how long have I been on here? What time did you take this from?
I fell asleep last night.
What time did we make this room, Susan?
This room was made yesterday around 9 p.m. yesterday.
9 o'clock. 9. Oh God, yeah, that's a long time. But you know, I'm up or whatever. I don't care. I'm about to go shopping for my girlfriend's mother. I bought her a coat for Burlington Coat Factory yesterday, so I gotta go get like a little hat and some gloves, 2 hats, and a pair of gloves to go with her coat. So I'm up. Sometimes I do that. That's like breaking day. I don't know, I'm weird. But I just think that as far as the information that we're not getting, when it involves children, that's what's more important, because people like Angela Stanton, who's running for Congresswoman in Atlanta, she advocates a lot for children. She talks about the pedophilia agenda a lot. Even Candace Owens talks about it, how you were perpetuating a pedophilia agenda, you know, on everybody, and perpetuating effeminate men, putting men in dresses, and, you know, promoting that. Saying words like right. What was the guy? Who was he from? The guy from the bands, whatever. He was in the skirt from Vogue magazine. Harry Styles, right? And Candace Owens said, "Bring back manly men," and women were attacking her. People were calling her disgusting.
I mean, he took it better than women. Like,
right? He actually put the thumbs up. And Miley Cyrus has a little sister. Her name is Noah Cyrus.
Yeah, saw that.
She posted on Instagram, "He looks better," in response to Candace Owens and Black women, essentially. She said, "He looks better in a dress than any of you nappy assholes."
Yeah, but you saw that. You said she don't know what nappy means. Oh,
yeah, and then she said afterwards, after she got the backlash, that she didn't know what nappy meant.
Well, Candace tore her apart, and it was well deserved. So
yeah, you know, I think Candace Owens gives a bad rap because, you know, people still aren't ready to have the Black on Black crime conversation. So that's why, you know, I like to curate spaces like this, because when Candace Owens was talking about the crime in Chicago and how much of a failure Barack Obama was, nobody wanted to listen to her. Everybody was calling her a coon. They saying, "Oh, you're missing the point. You're not talking about racism." Like, she was never able to fully, you know, put at the forefront the problems and the things that were going on with the Democratic establishment, because people were so focused on her accent. People were focused on her enunciation of her words. Sometimes when the masses, especially, you know, Black people, people of urban diaspora, when they hear people talking like that, they immediately have an apprehension to the things that they're saying. Not that they're not making sense, but that they can't relate to them. So I think that that's a problem that Candace Owens had when she first came out. You know, even though the things that she's saying are valid, and they actually make sense. Barack Obama was the senator of Chicago for a long time. He did nothing for Chicago. Chicago's still in shambles. He still isn't doing anything for Chicago, even after his presidency. You know, he has billions of dollars, and he's not doing anything for the Black community. But nobody focuses on that because we want to focus on racism. So, Ebony, if you have anything else you want to say about that, and then I'll let Susan say something since she's back.
In terms of Barack Obama, I personally acknowledge, like, when someone is mixed race versus a Black person. Like, I consider Black people to be a person who comes from 2 Black parents, and I think sometimes when
you saying Barack Obama was an agent? You trying to say it in a nice way?
Well, not an agent, but I'm saying, like,
it's an infiltrator. He wasn't an ally.
Who comes from 2 Black people, and I also believe that there's a mentality where there's certain Black people who want to be with their own community. So I know that there are some Black people that were like, what was the benefit of integration? Because that hindered Black entrepreneurship, Black thriving neighborhoods where you had more options to say, well, if someone is disrespecting me from a non-Black group, I have the option to go to my own clothing store, my own ice cream shop, my own cultural hub in my community.
You want to know what's crazy, Ebony? My mother's from Harlem. My father's from Brooklyn. So my mother, right now, she's like 55.
she told me like a couple of times, she's like, yo, like in Harlem, I never saw white people. She said there was a black store. We lived in the projects. We could leave our door open Saturday morning. You run downstairs, run to your friend's house. It was black everything in Harlem. She never saw white people. Even when she went to high school, she went to Martin Luther King High School. She only saw black people. It wasn't until she got, when she was like in her early 20s and she started to work in Tribeca at the Legal Aid Society, that she actually really interacted with white people for the first time. And that's crazy because my mother grew up in New York City. So think about the times like in the 70s and the 60s and shit, like there were really secular areas specifically for certain minorities. And unless you had a certain type of elitism or classism, you know, based on your financial background, you weren't exposed to different races like that. And that was okay. And people were still able to function and not kill each other and not suffer from, you know, traumatic identity politics. Yeah, I definitely like agree with you in that assessment, because I think if you love yourself, it's possible to be about yourself and your community without trying to disrespect or violate somebody else's. And I think sometimes not enough attention is given to people who are just like, hey, I want to be about my own culture, my own community, and I'm not going to go out of my way to disrespect yours, but I also don't want to be forced to be around people who don't identify or have the similarities that I do. You know, so one thing I really liked about New York is that you can go to Harlem and have a different experience. You can go to Chinatown and have a different experience, and these all were cultural hubs. But it wasn't like, I'm forcing you to be around X, Y, and Z. And I agree with you with the identity politics in a way, and I think there's not enough attention put on people who also work against the community but have advantages because they physically look like the quote-unquote like one of us, even though they're working against what can actually help our community. So when it comes to like learning how to grow your own food, learning about the housing market, learning how to survive without having to rely on the aid and assistance of other groups, is not enough education about that. And I would say group economics is important too. Like, I'm no longer a Christian, but I used to go to a church that they would all collectively raise money for the youth when you turn 18 to assist you with whatever higher education endeavors that you had, which I thought was really great because you can be mentored by an elderly member from the church, and then you were also given financial assistance for whatever degree you wanted to pursue. Wow, that's awesome, Ebony. Don't you know the secular Democrats of America want to eliminate all religious institutions and eliminate God and everything from everything in America? Everything. They wrote a letter to Joe Biden stating their feelings on religion. They want to eliminate everything. They not only do the Democrats want to eliminate the Western nuclear family, but they also want to eliminate Western religion. Yeah, I was aware that there was an attack on the nuclear family and attack on religious beliefs, and I'm more of a firm believer of live and let live to an extent. So I don't want someone's beliefs to negatively harm any other group of people. And I also think it's important too. Like, people are like, oh, you're so nosy, but I think it is important to be nosy and to make sure that our children are protected. Because if I was talking to a friend, I said, if someone is being raised to see normality in someone dying, like, it really disturbed me. My mom and I went to a museum in Baltimore, and they had some artifacts, and we couldn't take pictures, but they had. Have you ever heard of Cold Chicken Inn? Yeah. Okay. So establishments like that normalize like blackface and stereotypes of Black people eating fried chicken, those people created this business. Those people also taught their offspring to have a certain narrative and a viewpoint of Black people. When people discuss like lynching in America and then they don't give credit to what do these families look like? Why is it that you took your children to these events You have postcards that you spread around the neighborhood. You ate food while a hanging body was hanging above your head. You were not in
they kept pieces of their skin as body parts as souvenirs.
Yeah.
They made lamps out of their skin. They did all their blood.
But it's like, if you're a child of that and your parents do that, that's your normality. And you don't know that that's something that's negative because it's normalized where you're from. So when you come in contact with people who look like those people, in your mind, you don't think you're doing anything wrong because your parents, if you watch up seeing your parents murder people, if you watch up seeing your parents molest children, you see that as a normality too, and that's not.
Yeah, but also, Ebony, I also, just, because we want to, have clarity for the room. I don't want anybody to have things misconstrued. In no way do I think that, those things that went on in the 60s, in the 70s, maybe in the 40s and the 30s, some of those things, I don't think that reflects on the current generations of all white people. But certain lineages of elite families, like the Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, people who are, obviously, a part of that globalist movement, I do think they do have a lineage of hate. But I think that a lot of white people really don't care. I genuinely think they don't give a fuck about racism. I genuinely think they don't care. Because I don't care.
I would push back on that and say, I agree. That's not all white people, but I would say that there's a fear there. So,
there's a fear that, Black people may one day want to take revenge or whatever, but I'm
saying more of the fear of if I stand up for you, my family's going to be murdered as well. That type of fear where it's certain people are I'm not willing to stand up because if I stand up for you, are you going to have the resources that I need to properly protect my family because I look out for you? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't even think that we need to think about it in that context. It's more so we need to focus on ourselves and stop being worried about what white people are doing, because white people ain't worried about what we're doing. They're worried about the rights being taken away and everything else that's going on in the world, and the pedophilia that we're not focused on, and their religious liberties being contrived and put into this box of white supremacy when certain people just want to go.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to the mentality too of whose opinion do you value? Because there's some Black my being with Black people is what's of importance to me, and that's my focus. And then there's some Black people that are a non-Black person's opinion is more important than my own opinion. So the people who are well, I have such and such degree, who are you? Or I've got this accolade from a non-Black organization. Yeah, they're the ones that but that's where you get the divide of we have to get down to okay, what's your mentality? Because it can't just be all kinfolk, in that regard of we all look alike, so we have the same mentality, and that's not the case.
No, I think we're not a monolith. I want to give Susan a chance to say something in response to that and just give a little bit of background on what she thinks as far as this app. She's been on here with me, rocking for a while, and she understands the dynamic of the conversations that we run into and why rooms like this are important. So can you say something? Bree, you can be long-winded. I don't care.
Okay, cool. So when it comes to the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and those type of people, they do have a lineage that they start from. If you guys actually go through history, you know that they started being Satanists. So those slave owners that would kill slaves and cut them open and basically brutalize them to the point that they are able to get certain blood from them that are called adrenochrome. Those are Satanists. So there are white people that do practice those Satanist religion, and then there are white people that don't know what the fuck is going on. So when we try to group all white people together in one category, that's kind of generalizing. We can't really generalize all white people into one group, because there are certain white people that do practice Satanism.
Now, with that being said, like I said, all kinfolk ain't kinfolk. Now, one thing that, some black people also are in is Freemasonry. Freemasonry is something that people don't talk about. They try to shy away from it, or they try to make it seem like it's a taboo. It's not. They have lodges everywhere. Those people also, some of them are Satanists. We talk about everything, but we never talk about Satanism. We don't talk about the Satanists that are in our government, that are in our police force, that are in our schools, that are pushing this agenda of making the world an upside down pentagram. So that is what's been going on. We have ushered in so many negative things into our country. We've ushered in so many toxic things into our country that we're not opening our eyes to the bigger agenda. The bigger agenda is not black and white racism. That's not the bigger agenda. The bigger agenda is destruction of humanity. So when we're start to see things in that mindset, and start to see things in that, then we'll be able to understand that the agenda is the destruction of the human race.
I agree with you.
That was awesome. Vladimir, Ebony let Vladimir say something. He's been quiet for a minute. I know he's been cooking over there, guys. Vladimir.
Nah, like literally physically, I just cooked breakfast, but now it's crazy. Like, all right, so and I'm not gonna get on my no preacher stuff, but I feel like the powers that be, right? The roots, infrastructure, these people, who do they pray to? I'm not trying to get religious or nothing like that, but I feel like that's a source to this conversation because pretty much it's not black and white, but it's pretty much it's like good and evil. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we see like how slowly but surely.
And we swore up and down Trump was the evil one because that's what they told us. Instead of focusing our judgment of him on the merits of his policies and what he did, we focused on what the media told us to focus on, and we missed the whole ball. He actually made peace in the Middle East, which cemented. Nobody talks about that. True.
Nah, I'm with that, and I'm not trying to bash Trump either, but me personally, like, I don't trust none of these leaders. I feel like leaders aren't elected, but they're selected. Like, even the fact that Trump had a close relationship to Jeffrey Epstein, and I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole, but if you know, then you know. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I had to do my research on Trump as well. Like, I didn't realize how he had a lot of sexual.
I went down that rabbit hole with Epstein. There's nothing down that hole. Me and Sophia.
Yeah, there's nothing down that hole.
Ain't nothing down that hole.
And Epstein is also a Mossad spy. If y'all don't know what that is, Jeffrey Epstein is a Mossad spy. Ghislaine Maxwell is a Mossad spy. And if you actually know who her father is,
where the fuck is Elaine? Yo, Susan, where the fuck is Elaine Maxwell?
She's quote unquote in prison right now. Quote unquote.
Nah, Elaine Maxwell is fucking missing right now. That bitch got out of Dodge. I've been looking for her for a couple of weeks now. I've been trying to find a little sniff of a trail of Elaine Maxwell.
I think Elaine is giving up a lot of stuff. I think Elaine is I think she's under witness protection because
Elaine snitched on Obama. Elaine was the one who said, remember the lady who was doing the oceanography thing with the little white girl with the red hair? Yeah, Obama got the picture with his hands on her shoulders. Why the fuck you got your hands on that little white girl's shoulders, Obama?
After the capture of Ghislaine, there have been missing children getting uncovered. There was 35,000 missing children found in Atlanta, I think North Carolina, and some other places. These news articles.
Yeah, that was over the summer, and everybody was so distracted, blinded by racism. They didn't even know they recovered all of those children in a sex trafficking ring.
Yeah, definitely. And people are kind of seeing it as, Trump is bad, Trump is this, but he's put a human trafficking force in place. He's signed executive orders to stop human trafficking. If you're gonna say somebody's bad, you have to say the good that they've done. You can't really.
I'm not trying. Like I said, I'm not trying to bash Trump, but like you said, like if we're gonna put somebody on the table, let's put everything on the table.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
And that's what we're trying to say. That's what we're trying to say, Vladimir.
Right, so
nobody's putting the positive things on the table. Everybody's putting the negative things on the table. And the things that they're talking about that specifically involve the Satanism, and remember the capitalism that is tied to the Satanism. This nigga threw a monkey wrench in and said, "Shut the fuck up, y'all nasty niggas. Sit the fuck down." And they were tight.
I really feel like he fucked up their whole like situation as far as like
that's the point. That's the point that I was trying to get to exactly. Go ahead, take it away, Bless.
Yeah, no, I agree. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you know, I don't like to play devil's advocate, but I do like to put everything on the table. Like, yeah, this Trump definitely put a flashlight in a dark space, and now everybody.
Okay, and that. Remember, because you are a Bible man. Prophets come in many forms, and many messages come in many different ways. I don't be to tell my ass don't know what the hell is in the Bible, but I know the Bible says some shit like that. I know it says some shit
if you guys read the 1 Thessalonians 2, chapter 2, First Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 2, if you read that, it basically says that God would send a major illusion to distract the nations. So I feel like that's already been said, and people are in an illusion and believing that life is back to normal, that Joe Biden's going to be president. And it's like, okay, if Joe Biden was going to be president, why would they want to impeach Trump? Why are they trying to get Trump out of office? Why they censor the president of the United States?
They said they was trying to invoke the 25th Amendment. If you're invoking the 25th Amendment, that means that he has a mental deficiency. That means he's incompetent. What you're trying to say is that he's doing a malfeasance. That's impeachment. How you going to impeach him 10 days before the inauguration? Y'all stupid as hell. It's stupid as hell. Y'all keep saying anything to get clickbait.
It's deeper than what people are seeing. And the fact that they did kick the president of the United States off all social media platforms, not even only Twitter, all social media platforms, the fact that they took Sidney Powell, the fact that they kicked off General Flynn, all these people, how are we going to know if something is going down that the president of the United States can communicate to people?
Isn't that crazy? Y'all really censoring the president that lack of
Miranda, he's been being censored. He's been being censored for the past 4 years. Because everyone subscribed to cancel culture. Miranda, you don't understand how influential cancel culture was in this censorship. Because watching those Senate hearings with Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey and listening to the senators unveil, all of the evil things that they're doing with information, and going to Project Veritas and listen to James O'Keefe debunk all of these Google, tech IT guys who are saying that they are told and instructed to specifically censor conservatives, specifically censor Trump, anything Biden good, Trump bad, post it. If it's Trump good, don't post it. So this is a grander scheme of censorship that most basic, citizens don't even know about. So at a certain point, you have to think like, damn, if you guys are literally lying about what he's saying, lying about what he's doing, echo chamber every 5 minutes of news reports of just copying another news report, not actually doing investigative journalism. There's no such thing as investigative journalism anymore. Like it's not like the 90s and the 80s where they really, got down and dirty and really tried to investigate a story. Everything is like what's trending now. Everything is so, polarized as far as like identity politics is. And when you think about all of these things being taken away for all of these years and nobody really paying attention to it, them doing that to the president, we showed up disrespect for him. The fact that 74 million people voted for him and that was able to be ignored, the Supreme Court said, fuck your investigation. I don't give a fuck if y'all got evidence in the law that we supposed to look at this evidence. Actually, we don't even want to look at your evidence. We don't have time for it. That's unprecedented. That has never been done in history. So despite what people think about those people that stormed the Capitol, they stormed the Capitol because their constitutional rights were being violated. And they're like, damn, for a year we advocated for y'all, law and order. We advocated Blue Lives Matter. We advocated for police. We advocated for patriotism and nationalism. And y'all turn y'all back on us like this. We believed in the system. Fuck you. You know, that's probably really what they were thinking. And, you know, I think that white people have a right to be sad over that white lady. She was wrapped in that damn flag, and they was passing her around like Simba and the Lion King. And it's like, I felt sad. Like, I was like, oh shit, like, she's really dead. All she did was climb through a window. The Capitol was on fire in June. It was on fire. It was burning down in June.
You know, they just set it on fire too. They just set it on fire again with the Capitol Hill situation. I think the leader of the Proud Boys, they arrested him because he incited them to start the fires. But
no, he didn't. He was arrested before.
He didn't. He's not even there.
He was arrested before he got.
He's not even there, Vladimir. He's banned from D.C. They banned him from D.C. 4 days ago, before the Capitol Hill was even stormed. What happened was he came on the 5th, and when he got off of the plane, they detained him. And then when they detained him, they found that he had ammunition in his pocket. He didn't have any firearms. All he had was ammunition, and he was arrested. And then I guess the mayor of D.C. banned him from the state. So that was the article that I was looking at the other day, which was the day of the Capitol Hill riot, that they banned Enrique from D.C. And I asked my homegirl, I said, yo, can they ban somebody from a state? Can they ban him from, can they ban him from D.C.? And she was like, she don't know. And I'm like, bitch, you know everything. And then I got annoyed. But yeah, he was never there. The reason why they arrested him initially was because a couple of days, I think at another riot, another protest, there was a flag, a Black Lives Matter flag, and he tore it down and he set it on fire. And they were saying that white people were doing it, and he went on Twitter, I think, and he actually said that he was the one who did it. So they charged him with a hate crime for burning the Black Lives Matter flag. And they also charged him with a hate crime because they said it was a black church that he took the flag off of. So, yeah, that was why he got arrested and banned from D.C. on the 5th. So he's never there.
Well, I mean, my bad, right quick. All I was going to say was, you got to physically be in a place to incite things. But Trump is the first one that I heard to even mention fake news. Like, he's the first president that I've heard that mention fake news. I think my take on it would be more so is like, all right, I'm finna go ahead and bust out everybody, right, before I get caught with my hand in the dirt. You know?
No, it's literally the fake news, Vladimir. Like, it's literally the fake news. Like, literally, I'm telling you, I watched the fucking news, how they lie and say he's doing one thing and he's doing another. The walk away movement was just banned from Facebook. The hashtag walk away movement, filled with thousands of former Democrats giving testimonials as to why they left the Democratic Party and the things that they found out. So it's Vladimir, it's really the fake news. Like, I can't even watch mainstream news anymore because it's so polarized and Trump, like, it's just they keep echoing the same thing. It's echo chambers. And when I go back and I read these laws and I read these bills and I read, and watch the actual speeches when Donald Trump is talking, he's not saying any of the things that they're saying he's saying. Like, I love me some Kayleigh McEnany. I watched Kayleigh McEnany give her little whatever she said at the podium. Then the reporter said something about Trump. And she asked her blatantly, well, did you listen to the whole thing or did you just hear the clip? Do you know this ditzy bitch said, oh, I just watched the clip? What? So you're a fucking reporter, and you have the luxury of being inside of the White House and watch, Scandal or Designated Survivor. Designated Survivor is good for getting the context on what it's really like being in the White House. I like that show, Designated Survivor. Y'all should watch that. But when you see how the press, how they actually get there and how much of a privilege that is, You're not even taking the time to do your research. You're just being an echo chamber from whatever other press outlet you heard that story on. You're not actually trying to delve into what Donald Trump is actually saying or what his policies are. That shit is crazy. He could deal with IBM. He made it so they can't hire no immigrants out of the country. They can't bring in no outside work. Whirlpool, they had to hire all Americans. Ivanka Trump did another deal. I think that she was the one who curated the deal with IBM, so where they had to hire all Americans. Those visas where Indian people were getting those visas to come over here and like work for Optimum and like Google and all those companies. They took those away, so they're not able to do that. So those jobs go to American people. Like Donald Trump has always said American made is better. He's been saying it since the 80s. If you go back and look at his speeches or his interviews, I want to say when he was in his 30s and when he was in his 40s and when he was in his 20s, like you can really get an idea of who he is as a person. And when you go back and look at him in the fucking 80s, and then you go back and look at the shit that he was saying in the past 4 years,
Right.
and you say, damn, this nigga he didn't switch his pivot. And as black people, we recognize somebody who don't switch their pivot. And I don't give a fuck how much you don't like.
Hear me out. So I recognize the things that he says is like it's fucking earth shaking to a lot of like the individuals that's against him within politics. My only viewpoints was, all right, so when I started doing intensive research on like his taxes, like, all right, so I remember they kept asking about his taxes, like where you
Okay, wait, Vladimir, before you go into that, I just don't want you to embarrass yourself real quick. Let me just go through this real quick. Sean, who was in here earlier, the one who was in the naval, military, whatever, Sean told one of the young ladies, saying to everybody, there are 672 tax breaks that you can get while having your business out of your home. 672. So 672 ways for you to save money. What poor people don't know, and I say poor people, and I use that to generalize all of us because we're all poor technically. Poor people don't know that having a good accountant is not a crime. Poor people don't know that the concept of paying taxes is to pay at least the amount of taxes that you can, especially as a business owner. So he disclosed his taxes several fucking times.
Sure have.
And every time they found something wrong with it and tried to pick it apart. What, he has a good accountant? Are you jealous? That's not my fault that you don't have a good accountant.
No,
But that's what I said when I said the fake news.
Yes,
The fake news perpetuated that there was something wrong with his taxes, when in reality, Vladimir, there's nothing wrong with his fucking taxes. He paid all the taxes he was supposed to pay. They just wanted him to pay more. They weren't satisfied. He disclosed it every time. You cannot become the president of the United States without disclosing your taxes, period.
So have you all? So let me ask you this question: have you all heard of the millions that he's paid, as far as settlements to the families of the sexually abused individuals?
That's fake news.
So what do we deem real news and fake news if it's not?
Okay, fake news,
If it's never
fake
been
news.
aired, if it's never been aired, and you
Hold
have-
on, Vladimir. Fake news isn't backed by facts. Fake news you can't trace back. You can't follow the breadcrumbs. So when it comes to like things like WikiLeaks or like 4chan or stuff like that, those outlets would have been leaked in. If it was there, trust me, Vladimir, I would have fucking found it. Or
So
Susan
you don't
would have
believe
found it. Or
that
somebody would have found it if it was there.
You don't
There's
believe that
nothing
money
there.
can silence people?
If they wanted, listen, if he really was doing something wrong, that impeachment that they did,
Yo, they would be fiending to fucking promote that shit. Do you know what they would do with that shit if it was real? Like, do you know that to this day, they have not said that in 2017 they found out that Donald Trump wasn't fucking with Russia and there was no Russian collusion? They still haven't made that announcement. They still haven't made the announcement that the FBI lawyer pled guilty at the beginning of quarantine to tampering with evidence and fabricating the investigation. Nobody has made that announcement that the president of the United States, the sitting president, was not colluding with Russia. Even up until the Republican and the Democratic National Convention, they were still saying that he stole the election and he was fucking with Russia. So when it comes to fake news, it's not that you can't decipher which news is real or which news is fake. All of the mainstream networks are in cahoots. When you see some place and they keep saying the same story over and over, you have to look for another story and look for the story that they're not telling you. So that's the point. A lot of you can look at Newsmax, you can look at NTV News, you can look at One America Network, you can look at OAN, you can look at people like Tim Pool, who's a libertarian. You can look at what's the guy, Dave Rubin? Is that his name? Dave Rubin? Dan Bongino. You can look at who else?
Yeah, I think my problem is that I am very anal and analytical about what I accept as truth, right? So, because I know how there's always three sides to a story. The side that a person wants you to.
What you did, baby?
Oh,
sorry.
No, you good. A side that one individual wants to, narrate their position, and then the other side, and then you got the actual truth that only God knows. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's like, I understand the position that you two have. I feel like I'm very anal and analytical about who I trust. You get what I'm saying?
As you should. You should be that way, Vladimir. But trust me, you've been in here with me for a minute. I ain't gonna tell you nothing wrong, brother. It's nothing down that Trump rabbit hole. Because trust me, if it was, people would have loved it. They would have loved it. That would have been the scandal of the year. Whoever fucking did that would have got a Pulitzer Prize. It would have been the most shared, the most streamed, the most popular of 2020. It hasn't happened. They hate him that much. There is something called Trump derangement syndrome. Google it right now, Vladimir. Trump derangement syndrome. This man has created his own syndrome. That's how much people hate him. Like people are going to therapy for this. And the halls of Google, the day he was elected, they started crying in the halls. And then the HR at Google facilitated Trump derangement syndrome support groups for the people. No, Vladimir, this is a fact.
No, I'm laughing because in my mind it's like me personally, I just don't give that much of a fuck about Trump to even go down that deep. But
that's what I'm saying. Think about it. So if they care, but think about how they to go that deep. Think about how much they care and how much of a threat he must be if they're willing to go that far, if it goes that deep. Step outside of the physical self, step outside your body and step into your mind. Step outside of your heart, step outside of your emotions and step into your mind and think about the cataclysmic effect that one person has had on the whole regime, to the point that a sitting president can be defamed, berated, belittled, threatened, fucking set up, all types of shit. His wife can be fucking, set up, giving a speech that Michelle Obama had. A little speechwriter just gives her the speech, has no respect for her. They had no respect for these people for 4 years straight, every single fucking day. It was every single day. It never ended for 4 years for them. Think about that. Think about that. Stop thinking about Trump as Trump. Stop thinking about that. Think about.
No, I hear you. No, I don't.
How far they went.
No, and everything that you're saying, trust and believe. Like, I went through these mental processing that I had to understand for myself. Like, damn, maybe all what they say about Trump isn't that. You know what I'm saying? So I get what you're saying, but all I'm saying is...
And it's not. I'm telling you it's not.
I get it, but all I'm saying is this. It's just like two kids, right? If you leave two kids in the household, right, and...
Vladimir, no. Facts don't care about feelings. We're talking about facts.
Right.
The facts. Tell me the facts here. Don't talk about feelings. Tell me the facts.
So this is what I'm saying. It's like we're saying, let's talk about the facts, but in the same sense, how could a civilian that's not in these rooms, right? That's not in the on the panels and the conversations with this elite situation, you know what I'm saying, or these scenarios. We're not there. So all we can do is go to something that could have been tampered with, right? So